Okay, let me just put up the bit about the recording so we can see the disclaimer here for the text for recording. We are now recording and we'll get started. Okay, let me just get a shout in the hallway here. Anyone here for the lunchtime learning event? We're ready to start. We're ready to get started. Okay, it's 12:15 and we're ready to go. Our lighting's not so great. Okay, you can see me a little bit there. Okay. A little bit. We got to work on the lighting and we got to work a little bit on the camera quality, but it'll be a good starting point for us in a moment, Vivian. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us on Lunchtime Learning, our first premier kickoff event. Not only is this live here in the classroom, but it's also live online. We might have some people from Ealing joining us, but we definitely have some colleagues of mine that are joining us online. We've got Kathy and we've got Gianni. And welcome to our audience. Thank you very much for joining us. And then we've got our live audience here as well that we're appreciate you joining us for the Lunchtime Learning. Just so that everybody's aware, this event is being recorded, okay? So if you do have any questions or comments, welcome, come on in. We are encouraging everybody to ask questions, but that will be part of the recording as well. I would also like to thank the Computing Science program for sponsoring some drinks, some coffee, and some tea in the back of the room, which is our attempt at getting some funding towards hot water dispenser. People have been saying that they wanted to have tea and coffee available, and so any of the money that we can get from donations today, please feel free to get a cup of coffee or tea in the back. If you want to contribute £1, you're welcome to. And what I've said is I'm going to do matched funding, and that means that whatever you contribute, I'll match up to £15. So if you will be willing to donate, we'll do that so that the students can have some hot tea and coffee. Right. So without any more delay, we're very, very lucky to have one of our esteemed tutors, Vivian, who has fairly recently finished her PhD.
1 year ago.
1 year ago. Oh, that's pretty recent. I mean, compared to John and I mean,
yeah,
we're ancient. But come on in if you're here for Lunchtime Learning. You get a free chocolate as well. There you go. And tea and coffee in the back. We're going to, if you don't mind, do questions and answers towards the end. So we're looking to try to finish before 1 o'clock so that you won't be late for your lessons. Vivian's going to do her chat, and if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask her at the end. And the same for our online audience. Anyone who is online is welcome to ask questions, and then I'll act as the moderator for that. So Vivian, I'll represent the online people. All right. So without any other delays, may I please ask you to all give a big round of applause to Vivian, our first lunchtime learning presenter.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for coming, making our time to come for the online lunchtime event. So my name is Vivian, and I've met everyone except you. So this event is basically on cloud computing and how it can help us in teaching and learning. Okay, and we'll be talking about. I'll quickly start by introducing the presentation outline. So we'll be talking about what cloud computing is for, sorry, for those of us who haven't really, probably you've been hearing it, but you don't really know what it means. And we talk about adoption of cloud computing across various business sectors, including education sectors. And we also look at how much popular it is, especially in education sector. And we'll talk about the benefits of cloud computing to the university, to the students, and the tutors as well. And we'll be looking at some of the researches that people have done, basically like survey to see how much cloud computing have been embraced since it came out in 2006. So, one second. So cloud computing, really, what is cloud computing? As anyone, of course, I know a lot of people have heard of cloud computing, but I don't want to assume that we all know what cloud computing means. So do we have like an idea what it means without looking at the slide? Is there any idea, John?
I think it has something to do with using resources that are remote somewhere else, maybe on a server. Yeah. And I think those resources could either be data or programs.
Yeah. Okay. So from it, when cloud computing emerged in 2006, which is about 11 years now, educators were wondering, using phrases like, can you imagine a world where we will have access to lots of resources without having to pay much for it? So they use words like future words like exploring, imagining, and then it eventually emerged in 2006, with Amazon being the first one that introduced the word cloud computing in one of their events. And they envisaged how they could sell out these services. So they were basically, they still do, sell it out as a service to people, to end users. So instead of people having their infrastructure on site, like infrastructure like your server, your network components and devices on site, people can now buy this infrastructure as a service. This can be done through software or through a platform, but all of them are rented as a service. So this makes it easier for us to manage whatever we use. You know, when you compare it to on-site infrastructure, you need to think about how to manage the infrastructure. You need to recruit people as well. You need to think about the cost. So you are basically investing a lot of money in on-site management. And most times you're not really in the office to use those resources. But with cloud computing, you only pay for what you are using. That's what makes it very beautiful. And you can access the service anywhere. So it's flexible. And it also helps for scaling up and down. So if your business is going to expand, you can order for more storage spaces and you only pay less. So that is cloud computing. So when I was doing my research was on cloud computing. There was several studies that I looked at, and the accepted definition of cloud computing is that given by NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology. And it defined cloud computing as a model for enabling ubiquitous, convenient, on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources, e.g. network server storage, application and services, which can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal management efforts or service providers interaction. These are their exact words. Okay, but in simple terms, very simple terms, cloud computing means moving data or resources to the cloud somewhere where people can access them remotely in a flexible way. So you don't have this infrastructure physically, but then you can have the service of the same, that one similar to the one of on-site infrastructure, even a better service. So according to Bonfim 2011, it said cloud computing is simply moving data and programs from local servers to the internet, providing users with the ability to access and share information at any time from multiple devices. So it's talking about flexibility, cost effectiveness, scalability. In fact, cloud computing is all of these, but compared to on-site infrastructure, which is not really flexible, you need to be in the office to access this service. Okay, and you need to employ people that will manage it for you. So, but cloud computing provides that covers that lapse of having to access these services without having to pay much. So that's cloud computing definition. So NIST now provided a model. This model is quite universal, and it explains key concepts of cloud computing in three different aspects. So the deployment models, I don't know if it's clear enough. The essential characteristics of cloud computing and the service models. So the deployment models, cloud computing has 4 deployment models. Okay, you have the public cloud, which allows people, the public, to use cloud services and pay for it. You have the private cloud that is restricted to a particular organization, as the name implies, private. Their aim of having a private cloud is to ensure security. Okay, so that private cloud is only used by an organization. And you also have the hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud is basically a private cloud moving some parts of its resources to the public cloud. So it's combining 2 different cloud deployment models. So in case of this disaster, recovery or backup will be easier for them. Okay, so then the community cloud is for those organizations that have the same aim or policy in a community that share a particular cloud system. Is there any questions so far? So the essential characteristics of cloud computing, which I've kind of mentioned before along the line, are broad network access. So anywhere you are, you can access cloud computing service. It's everywhere. And it can be accessed through your phone, mobile devices, or computer, iPad, whatever. It can be accessed through thick or thin clients. And it has rapid elasticity. So if you scale up at some point, if you want to increase your storage, you can just click and then it increases it. Compared to the on-site where you have to go and buy more storage devices, look for a network specialist to configure it for you, pay for the staff that will manage it, and also pay for the running cost. So measured service, which is the pay-per-use option, you only pay for what you use. A lot of us use iPhones, and we have the iCloud service. You have about 50 gigabytes for 79p or 75p a month, which is quite small compared to you having to buy a big storage device worth 50 gigabytes. You think about your power, you think about the storage device itself, you think about the management cost, so many things that cloud computing have been able to avert. And then on-demand self-service. At any point, you can access cloud computing service on demand without the service provider's interaction. Then resource pooling. So cloud computing basically offers a system that they call multi-tenancy. So a lot of people can access a particular service without having to interact or obstruct one another. So you can pool your resource without depending on the need for it. And a lot of people can be in that service, can be using that service without having any interruption. Then the last one is the service model. A lot of research have actually introduced different service models, but NIST only has three main service models: software as a service, which is the SaaS; platform as a service, which is the PaaS; and the infrastructure as a service, which is the IaaS. So the software as a service is very common. In fact, 99% of studies in cloud computing has shown that software as a service is the one that people are adopting more than the other. So it's simply having to rent infrastructure provided to us through software, through application. For example, the module we use to access our student materials, the Office 365 we use, these are all software as a service. So you are accessing these things through an application, a software where you just register and click. You don't have to have the physical infrastructure. And then the platform as a service is for developers, those people that need a platform to build their application. They go for platform as a service. So, but then the service provider, which I will call the CSP, manages the platform, and the service user uses the application and controls the application that he or she builds on the platform. Okay, then infrastructure as a service is basically used for network specialists, those that are looking for infrastructure to build some certain application or network, or they request for these services on demand. Yes, 5 minutes. Okay, is that what we have? Okay, so this is adoption across different business sectors. This was a research by the Economist Intelligence Unit 2015. So they actually surveyed 365 experts on the adoption, the presence of cloud computing in their different business sectors. And as you can see, education is still not far away, is still far away from adoption, although they have improved. And one of my studies where I asked people about the business sectors is on cloud computing adoption. You can see that out of the 269 people that I surveyed, of course, 26 kept the rest to respond. Education is only 4.94%. So adoption is still very slow in education sector. Okay. So benefits of cloud computing to higher education academies. How does cloud computing help us? How can it help us? So it improves the productivity, and I'm talking on the business side, and the academic processes. So it reduces expenses. Of course, every company wants doesn't want to spend a lot of money. Okay, so it reduces expenses, it saves costs. Then it's scalable. If they grow, if they expand or they reduce in size, it accommodates it. and then it boosts collaborative work. We are able to do this today because we've been sharing, collaborating, okay? We've been communicating, so it improves collaborative work, and it's flexible to use, which I've said before. And again, one important point, if you're using an on-site infrastructure, you need to manage your update service. You need to be there to update. For example, the NHS cybersecurity, recent cybersecurity issue was as a result of Microsoft, as a result of the IT people not updating the Microsoft window. Is it window? So, but if they were using cloud computing, it will just automatically update. So you don't really need the staffing to cover that area. So it updates and it backs up the information up to date. For example, your iCloud on your phone, it updates automatically. Even if you lose your phone, get another phone, it will just bring up the last update. So that's cloud computing. And it offers elasticity. For those in the management side, it improves HR and filing process. Then it also improves accountability. So, so for us, tutors and students, how does it really help us? Because what I've said before is for the uni. So it improves user experience for both of us. The user here is both of us, we tutors and you students. Okay, if we whatever we read or whatever experience we have is to improve your learning experience, is to improve how you learn. So, and if we have good experience using, for example, the module, we will improve your learning experience in the classroom. So cloud computing offers a method of improving the user experience as well as to improve teaching and learning. Is there any question on that? So easy access to your learning content. You at home, you're accessing your documents, the learning materials on Moodle. Imagine you not having access to Moodle. How would you do? You have to come to the uni. You have to make use of the hard copy materials, which sometimes is not, we've passed that stage. So now you can access it while on train. Anything, you can just access it easily. So it allows users to have their personal workspace. Okay, so what are we saying here? It makes teaching more interactive. You can interact with us through the discussion forum and we answer you. For example, I don't need to use my laptop, my computer. I can be on my phone and I receive an alert and I go straight to respond to your question, which is the same with you. So there is no need to back up yourself. It does it automatically. And widespread online application. As you're reading, you can find an application that is useful to you, and you can just quickly either you install it or you sign up. So it's very easy, cloud computing, and it supports flexibility and more mobile learning, which I've explained before. So I'll give you an example. Cloud computing is very good. I was going to submit my thesis on the 31st of August last year. On the 15th or 20th, I went to Sainsbury's. All my work were in this flash drive. And I had my pouch. I had the flash. I didn't have normally I put it on the pouch. But God's willing, I didn't have I was working at home, then I went to Sainsbury's. So when I got there, I was carrying my baby, so I put the pouch under his seat. As soon as I turned, someone picked the pouch, and that was it. With all my documents, all my life, everything. So imagine I had this on it. What would have happened? I wouldn't have been able to submit. So, but again, how did I back up? Every time I send the work to the supervisor, I do it through email. So I was already backing up through email. I had my documents on Google Drive. So I ensured that even if I lose the flash drive, I never bothered. That's the same with you as students, because cloud computing service provides you with the storage, the amount of storage you need to learn. And it's now up to you to back it up. Look at your assignments you're doing. If you're going to submit it in 2 days' time and you lose your backup, what will you do? That's it. You have to resubmit, which doesn't really necessarily it's not really your problem per se. It's not really your fault that you've not done the work, but because of carelessness, this can happen to anyone. So you can use cloud services at any time. Okay. So I'm rounding up, by the way. So you'll be wondering, which cloud service should I use? Which one should I easily sign up to? So we have Dropbox, which is the easiest one you can. It gives you about 2 gig. Then it asks you to advertise it to your friends through social media, and it increases it to about 16 gig. Then you have the others: Google Drive, Mega, OneDrive, and the rest. So, yeah, come on. So while we are in this class, or as soon as we finish, you can quickly. Oh, I'm not advertising anyone, by the way. I'm only saying that if you can sign up to any of the services, it will help you to back up your file in case of any unexpected event. So that's it for today. So thank you very much for coming, and these are the references I've used.
Well, Vivian, I want to say thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. She's our first person to do lunchtime learning, and I think we really need to give her a big hand, because she was very brave, and we all are so busy, and to take the time to help us, that is really wonderful. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to call you back up to anyone in the audience, in the face-to-face audience here, has a question. Vivian will try to answer. We've got about 5 minutes or so before a lesson starts. It looks like we've got some questions in the back. And then there might be some text questions. And what I'll do is I'll read them to you. And then it's our online audience. We have a number of people around the world participating, as well as the Ealing campus. All right. So let's go with the face-to-face questions.
Yeah. Yeah, come in. Yeah. Go on.
So you've gone through some advantages of the
If you don't mind, I'll repeat the question so that the online audience can hear as well. So the question was, are there disadvantages to using these systems?
Of course, anything that has advantage has disadvantage. Not long ago, I think Dropbox was hacked, and it was a big problem because confidentiality of the users was compromised, and the data that they've stored, they had access to it. Okay, I think I'll be able to answer that question very well. My thesis was on the trust issues affecting the adoption of cloud computing. And these issues, I had to discuss the challenges. The major challenges were security, privacy, confidentiality, loss of control of service, because the service provider controls the service, even if he has already put it on the contract. Contractual issue was a problem because most of the security issues that happened, that came up, were not reported. even those that were not reported in the favor of the client, of the service user. Because if they had reported it exactly the way it happened, the service provider would lose customers. So they did it in a way to protect themselves. So a lot of complaints have been raised recently on the adoption, the challenges of cloud computing adoption. But then a lot of service providers are working hard to make sure that those challenges never occurs. But again, security will always be an issue because as the developers are working hard to make their services secure, so are the hackers. So security will remain a problem. Privacy is a problem. Location of data is a problem because even though you're using Dropbox, you don't know where the data center is located. It could be somewhere in Asian continent. It could be in America. You don't know. So, and SLA issues, which I've said, accountability issues as well. Sometimes they overcharge you, but because you signed on to these services online, you cannot really see the service provider face to face to explain how they have billed you. So those are just the issues that.
Great, great. If I can just get an online question, then we'll try to come back to the face-to-face question. We have Kathy, who is online and is asking any advice if you're a tutor or a program leader or someone developing curriculum. Do you have any advice on using the cloud for them?
Yes, my advice is please upload your curriculum or as you develop the curriculum or as the tutor develops the study material, try to upload it to the cloud because you might lose the drafts, and that's it. I don't know if I've answered that question.
No,
but
that's good.
The advice I have because it's there always. There is nothing like because these cloud service providers, they like Amazon, for example, AWS service or Google Azure, Microsoft Azure. These are big players in the cloud computing market. They don't have one data center. So even in case of unexpected events like earthquake or disaster, recovery will be very quick. And they have these data centers everywhere in the world, which synchronize your data within themselves. So it doesn't have to be like something happens if it's in a case of on-site infrastructure and then maybe there's a fire or something and you lose everything. No. So always send your material, be it draft, anything, just put it in the cloud and forget about it. Yes.
Okay, let's go for one more question in the live audience, and then we'll finish off with our audience that is over in the Ealing campus for a final question from them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, just to add up, first of all, I have a Google Drive, and 4 years ago, I stored my passport photograph, and a few other documents. Sorry. And what happened was that somebody I don't even know just fished it out and emailed it to me. I couldn't really understand, but that was my passport, photocopy of my passport, and I tried to write back, nothing really happened. The person never replied. The security issue was it kind of made me ponder so much, like you said. But what happened is this: I am still thinking. I still have a Google Drive, and I'm storing a whole lot of things, all my studies and stuff like that, which I can easily share with other colleagues and so on. Mm-hmm. However, it still remains that we don't understand to what extent have they improved security. Can you enlighten us about that?
Okay, so the question. Sorry, so the online audience can hear as well. The question is online security. Have they made any changes over the years?
Amazon has, okay, Amazon has, if I'm to use those services, I go for the ones that have high ratings. Okay, Google is also a big player, but compared to Amazon, I think they have improved a lot. They have improved a lot. And I'm not saying that they cannot be hacked, but for a long time, we haven't had any issue relating to hacking of their system. So, in fact, they are the number one, they are the first, the first company that introduced the concept of virtualization, cloud computing, is Amazon. So, but Azure is the Microsoft Azure. So, but anyway, try to use services that have more ratings. For example, the Dropbox. It also had issue in the past, but I think they have also improved.
Okay, thank you. And so we've got one last question for today, and this is from Monroe over in the Ealing campus, asking about a kind of, I guess, a duty to back up materials. Would you say that businesses or the internet actually has an obligation, or is there a legal requirement for them to back up things on the servers?
Each service provider has a service level agreement, and it tells how much information, the extent of the type of information you can back up. Okay, although those service level agreements, we see them, but we don't often read them. When we want to sign up for a service, we just scroll down because there are a lot. You just look for the accept button and you click and accept. But only when you know it's when something happens, they go back to that service level agreement. So each of them are regulated by governments of different countries, because since their data locations are based in transborder somewhere, it can be Amazon in UK having a data center in Australia or somewhere in South Africa. The government of South Africa or Australia has a regulation set up that is guiding the data stored in that location. So it's also an issue, because if in the UK, Amazon has a certain degree of regulation that allows people to upload some certain files acceptable, they find acceptable, the ones in Australia might not have that acceptable policy. So it becomes a transborder agreement issue.
Okay, well, thank you. And just to finish off then, we have a comment from Kathy who says that there will be changes in May 2018, actually, with a new GDPR Act, when the cost of data breach is by an institution will be in the millions of pounds. So that's a new bit of information for us as well. So again, let's say thank you to Vivian. And I want to thank not only our online audience for participating today, brilliant, but our real live audience. You've been wonderful. If anyone wants to get a coffee or a tea, we have in the back some drinks for you. It's a donation, £1 if you care to contribute, so that we can work towards getting the hot water dispenser that the computing program is trying to work together for the students. Also,